2. Examples of apostasy. Jude 5-7. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting change under darkness unto the judgment of the great day, even as Sodom and Gomorrah, and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication, and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Jude 5-7. Jude's concern is with the influx of alien faith and influences into Christianity. Because we have today, as over the centuries, false and evil doctrines and religions masquerading as true Christianity, what Jude has to say is important for us. Paul not only denounces all heresies, but also calls attention to their errors. Jude's approach is different. He tells his readers, quote, "You should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints." Verse 3. Before Jude, other men like Paul and John had sharply and clearly drawn the line between the faith and heresies. Now Jude says, you have the truth, fight for it, and defend its purity. In verse 5, Jude grimly reminds them that Israel had been miraculously delivered out of the land of Egypt. Israel's deliverance was a spectacular one, far more notable than was their own redemption. All the same, because Israel showed ingratitude and rebelliousness, God destroyed almost the whole nation. One miracle succeeded another in Israel's years in the wilderness, but God still destroyed a carefully protected people because of their unbelief. Why, then, should he spare the early church? Obviously, this was written before the fall of Jerusalem, or else Jude certainly would have cited that as the great example of God's judgment on unbelief. Quote, "Though ye once knew this," end quote, is more accurately translated, quote, "though ye know all things once and for all." M.R. Vincent and A.T. Robertson. They cannot plead ignorance. It was a temptation to say of the Hebrews who left Egypt that they were slaves and not as enlightened as the present generation. The problem, however, was not an intellectual one, but a moral matter. The people of the Exodus, like the present generation, trusted more in their own understanding than in the Lord. The new teachers, the Gnostics, stressed intellectual understanding and denigrated moral issues as simplistic. Their writings, in fact, lacked moral content and were more metaphysical than ethical. The Lord had, quote, "saved the people out of the land of Egypt," end quote, and this Israel had conveniently chosen to neglect or to treat as their due because they were the chosen people. It is all too easy for Christians to see themselves as a chosen people who deserve only the best from God, when the calling of the elect is to serve God in the war against the city of man, the new Tower of Babel. Instead of realizing how much we owe God, we tend to think more of what God should give to us. Thus, Jude's first example of ingratitude and apostasy is Israel after its deliverance from Egypt. His second example is the company of fallen angels. They refused to keep their first estate or principality. Created by God for a high and holy purpose and place, they sought apparently more power. The references in Romans 8:38 and Ephesians 1:21 are to angelic spheres of authority and service. This dignity they forsook, and in rebelling against God, they lost all their privileged status. The fallen angels, A, did not remain in their proper place or office, and B, they left their proper habitation. As a result, they are now, quote, "in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day." Verse 6. The emphasis here is not on the fallen angels, but on the Christians who may fall or go astray. They are a more privileged group than were the Hebrews of the Exodus, and even the fallen angels. Jude is thus saying, in effect, If these things can happen to them, why not to you? You are the most privileged people because of Jesus Christ. Jude's third example is Sodom and Gomorrah and the other cities of the plains. They were privileged to have so rich and fertile a land base, well watered and lush in growth. These are set forth by God as an example of his judgment, quote, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire, verse 7. Two sins in particular are cited: A, giving themselves over to fornication, end quote, and B, quote, going after strange flesh, end quote. The word fornication in the original Greek covers more than sexual acts. Although this is a part of the meaning, it means lasciviousness, blasphemous attitudes, and more. Quote, strange flesh, end quote, as reference to homosexuality. The cities were wealthy, proud, and arrogant. It has been said of urban life that men there see more of man's work than God's, and they accordingly become too prone to seeing man in independence from God. With such a perspective, they become ungrateful and apostate. The Gnostics saw themselves as men who advanced the faith because they were in harmony with the philosophy and science of their age. They were living, it was felt, in a golden era of mankind, with government, philosophy, science, technology, and human thought generally at its highest. For men to resist merging their simple biblical faith into the highest of men's wisdom was absurd. Jude's requirement is simple, quote, ye should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints, verse 3. The thinkers of the city of man were contemptuous then, as they are now, of God's revelation. They have their own word of truth. Hans Jonas wrote of, quote, the resemblance between Gnostic myth and the myth of neo-Darwinian biology, end quote. The mythology of Darwin has great prestige as against the Bible. This will help us to understand what the early church faced. The wisdom of that era found the Christian revelations to be wanting. Time has disposed of the wisdom of that era, but we face a new generation of self-styled wise men, hence the timeliness of Jude.